Hey, I just completed my 100th creative finance deal in my career, and a lot of people have been asking me, hey, Kevin, what's the best list to go after if I want to go after creative finance deals as well? And I'll say, I got every single one of my lists from Propstream. And so what I did was Burton from Propstream and I did a 40 to 50-minute video on the best list to go after if you're looking for a creative finance deal. I understand it's kind of a lengthy video, but there's so much jam packed into it, so please don't skip through any of it because it is every one of them is very helpful. The actual video was 2 hours, but I cut it down to 40 minutes because I feel like that's exactly what people need to see. So please watch the whole thing. I hope this brings value to you guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Hey, Burton, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, dude, I appreciate you. And funny story, everybody. We literally just figured this thing out like last week. We were at BPCon. I bumped into Kevin. And Kevin's like, hey, how about we just do a webinar to teach everybody how to pull like low equity, no equity leads? And I was like, hey, great idea. Like literally on the spot.
Yeah.
And I told you this on the phone, Kevin. Like I was under the impression we're gonna, do like a 20 people thing, 30 people thing. I'm looking at the amount of people in here right now, and I've done like well over 400 webinars in the last like 5-6 years. You're top five now in terms of how many people we have
What?
in a webinar. Yeah, I kid you not. You're in the top five now. I've had some that were like 500 and some again one or two or three people, but I'm baffled. I say that like genuinely because within a week, less than a week, really less than a week, because I think we
So
talked on Thursday
yeah.
or Friday. So within less than a week, you have this many people in a webinar. Like I am just, I think that's a testimony to your character, really, at the end of the day. And so like, thank you, man. Thank you for just being a good human being and being able to get everybody on here like that. I mean, again, that's just who you are. I don't think 300 plus people would show up if you weren't a good human being at the end of the day. So I'm honored to be here. Everyone else that's here, I'm sure they're honored to be here. So far, I'm loving it, and I'm at your disposal, Kevin. So anything I can do to help people understand Propstream to get closer to these homeowners that need their help, I'm all for it. But yeah, I wanted to share that because again, in less than a week, you had this many people. I could only imagine if you actually spent like weeks marketing this thing, which you don't like to do because you're all about, that genuine and that natural kind of marketing, which is again amazing. So good job to you, Kevin. Really good job.
Thank you. No, I actually thought about doing it, like doing this, like probably like Sunday night or Monday morning. I texted you and I'm like, let's do it. So we within like less than 48 hours, like, and then it's because like PropStream is a really good product and everybody and I use it. I've been using PropStream for the last three and a half years now, and like I get all my deals from PropStream, and I think people see how good of a data provider you guys are, and like they're genuinely interested. So,
Oh, we
um,
thank you guys. I'm the first to say we're not perfect and we could always be better at certain things and certain markets, and I always, I'll be the first to say that, but I think it's this. I think it's just having a community of people with open minds to just give each other feedback. I want your feedback. I want to know where we suck at. You know what I mean? I want to know where we can be better at. Because if we can get better at those things, and it's not going to be overnight, but if we can get better at things that you need us to be better at, all it means is that we're helping you get faster to that homeowner who needs that help. Right. So
right.
please, if you guys see anything or need any help, or just, hey, there's something in your system that's just taking a little too long, or it's just making my deals a little bit longer, you guys got to let us know. The sooner we know, the sooner we can react to it. But no, I'm loving this. Thank you again.
No, yeah, thank you. So everybody, for 384 people that are here, I appreciate everybody that came. I know it's Tuesday at 2 o'clock. Like you guys could be anywhere, but you guys decided to hop on the Zoom call with me and Burton. But I'm like I said, I'm impressed kind of by how many people I brought to the table. Like I didn't think this many people would show up. I thought 100 to 200 people will register and maybe 30 people will show up, but this is insane. But nonetheless, my name is Kevin Cho, and for those of you guys who don't know me, I've been doing creative finance for the last 2.5 to 3 years, and as of yesterday, I just closed on my 100th creative finance transaction in my career. So, and in honor of doing that, I thought, okay, well, let's see how many people we can help, because if I was able to see the success that I have, I want to be able to give it back to the person, right? So Pace really, I met Pace when I was 19 to 20 years old. somewhere around there. And he really took me under his wings, and he showed me around all the possibilities out there. And because he took me under his wings and he helped me so much in my business, it's my duty to turn around and do it for the people, to the people behind me. So, which is the reason why we have the Zoom. I'm not, obviously we're not charging anything for it. So and we're actually going to give away some lists today and some subscriptions. So that's what we have going on today. So I just hit my 100th creative finance transaction. I am 23 years old now. I have nine properties under my belt. I'm cash flowing about $15,000 a month. So just to set it out there, because at the end of the day, you want to know, like, okay, who is this person that's speaking on stage? You want to know that, they're actually doing the deal. And matter of fact, Lorraine, who is a co-host, she's behind the scenes admitting people in. Her and I are partners, and we just sent out a contract today, and we just closed on a deal on Monday, and we're actively doing a lot of deals, and all came from the same list, Propstream. So going back to around September, October of this year, it was around 12 months ago, where I had a wholesaler local in Arizona call me up and say, "Hey, Kevin, I've been practicing calling sellers. So I've been calling a lot of for sale by homeowners, and I've been calling, all these homes. And I came across a homeowner in Yuma, Arizona, where the homeowner it was a couple that bought it. They bought the house together using their VA loan, and as soon as they bought the house, in about 3 months, they're going through a divorce. So now they know, obviously, they put zero money with a VA loan. They put zero money down, and they're able to, and they bought the house for, I don't know the exact number, but they bought it for about 350, and they had the house listed for around 360,000. So and they had the house up for sale as a for sale by owner, because if you have a 360 house that you're trying to sell for and you owe 350 on the mortgage, you're in a position to come out of pocket. So I hop on the phone call and I pitch sub 2, and this is my 8th sub 2 deal at that time. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, we just bought the house. We have to get 360 because we only have a certain amount of money we can come out of pocket, or else we can't sell this house, and we're probably gonna let it go to foreclosure. So I hop in and I explain what sub 2 is. We can just take over your payment, and instead of you cutting a check, I'll give you guys $2,500 each, and you guys can walk away from the house, and you guys won't have to worry about that anymore. And at that time I was 3.4% interest rate house that I took over subject to, meaning I took over the existing mortgage, and my payment on the house was around 1460, and then I have the house rented out for 1,800, and I still have that house still to this day. And I thought, and after we closed on that deal, I was thinking, like, okay, there's got to be more homeowners in the situations like this couple where they bought the house and now they're moving, and now they're in a position where they're relocating. Like my family, for example, we moved from California to Vegas, and within a year we all moved out of Vegas. Like I went to Phoenix, and my parents came back to California, so we owned the house for less than a year. And life happens. So I said, how can I go find more of these people? How can I go find people that are moving out of their house within the first 1 to 2 years of ownership? And when they bought the house, they bought it using, FHA, VA, conventional loan, like very low down loan product. And obviously I go to Propstream because I am, before I even was an affiliate with Propstream, I'm now an affiliate with Propstream. I was already using Propstream for all my transactions. So I go to Propstream, and we'll get into the details, but I basically make myself a no equity list of, and the first, and in Maricopa County there was 53 houses at that time. And of the 53 houses, I called the listing agents, every single one of them. And the second house that I call on the second house on the second number, house number 2, I get the deal under contract as a sub 2. I sell it to Pace, and Pace still has it to this day. It's the address is 6001 East Southern Avenue, Unit 30 in Mesa, Arizona. And Pace bought the deal for me within the second house that I call. And then I go through other 49, and I get 3 more deals out of it within the first call. Like I just go through it once and I get 4 deals out of it. So 51 people list, 51 house list. I get 4 deals out of it, and there was absolutely no competition. I was the only one doing it. Like I didn't have the homeowner like, oh yeah, we already have somebody giving us more money. Like there was never none of that. Now the situation is a little different because we have more people going after the same list, but obviously we collaborate on every single one of them. So this is how the list came about, and to show you how prevalent this is in my market in my portfolio. This is a house that I own, 3753 East Polk Street here in Phoenix, Arizona, and actually let me share the entire desktop. This 3753 East Polk Street here in Phoenix, Arizona. I own the house, and this was a no equity deal. And where this came from was my Instagram DM. So I had a follower of mine DM me on Instagram. Can you see the text message or no? You guys see it? June 9th, he says, you want to buy my house sub 2, 3753 East Polk Street, PITI 4306, VA loan 5.5%, no equity. I can leave the furniture there or take it. And I say, call me right now. And here's my phone number. And we set up a phone call. This is a duplex that I own here in downtown Phoenix, which was probably 10 minutes away from me at that time. And my payment on the house is 4306. I have both sides rented out for $4,500 right now. So this is a house that cash flows me around net $4,000 after all expenses. And I gave the homeowner $10,000 for a $650,000 house. And you can see the closing date that I closed on it on July of this year. I have another deal where the homeowner texted me privately on Facebook because the homeowner has been getting no equity deals from other substitutes. Alexander Doan. I've got a house in Vegas that I received a sub 2 offer on while doing the YouTube search into what a sub 2 is, and your name came up in several videos. I'm active duty military, trying to track down some information on how sub 2 works on the seller side of things. If you could help me out, I appreciate it. Also open to more offers if you're interested. So this is a house where the homeowner reaches out to me directly from Facebook. He finds me on Pace's YouTube. He reaches out to me and say, hey, I want to sell you my house. And this is a settlement statement. We close on it on August 8th, August 24th. I sold this to Pace. You can see Pace actively buys a lot of my deals, Moving Forward Ventures LLC. And then this is my personal residence. I bought this house you can see, end of June in 2023. And I was living there for about 3 to 4 months, and I just moved out because I ended up getting a $26,000 booking for 58 nights. So this is a house that I used to live in. I cash flow around about, all expenses after $5,000 to $6,000. This is a house that I have in Las Vegas, Nevada. I bought it back in June, and my interest rate on the house is 2.875%.
Kids, let me go. Wait.
And then this is a house that I also bought in Gilbert. And all that to say, every single house came from the no equity list, and I think it's going forward, it's gonna creative deals, sub 2 deals will only become more prevalent, and I'm the testimony of it. Like I've wholesaled about 70 deals this year, and I cherry picked the best ones, and like I always say, it came from the exact same list. So that's the intro. And so Burton, I have when I go on Propstream, and now this is your time to shine. You're muted, by the way. Let me ask you to unmute.
Yeah, no problem. I'm here.
So on Propstream, and I already have my own list that I kind of tweak around, but I wanted to kind of pull some no equity list with you, and I wanted to get your feedback on like, hey, let's try this list, let's try this filter to see how we can get no equity list, and I'll show you what I have been doing.
Yeah,
and I'll love to get some of your feedback. So.
Yeah, let's definitely bounce back ideas. I think this is how we all can learn from each other. I mean, obviously, you've done very well, so I'm pretty confident your filters are very thorough. But yeah, let's share some ideas.
Yeah. So, this is what Propstream looks like when you sign in. And what I have been doing is, I already have the filter ready. So, let's just go to Maricopa County, because that's where I live. Maricopa County, Arizona. So this is what I call the FHA and VA list. And this house, and this is a list. residential house, single family house, condo, townhouse, but I do add vacant land and residential vacant land because they tend to be like new builds, like 2021, 2022. And then I have them on market for sale because sometimes they may be on market for rent. And then ownership, I have it set for 2 years, but I think going forward I'll probably change this to 3 years. And the most important thing is owner type, owned by an individual, and the underlying mortgage on the house is FHA and VA list. What do you think? Like, is there anything we can add? Like, is there no equity filter on Propstream or?
There is actually. If you go to our valuation and equity info filter, yeah, there you go. If you go ahead and click on that, what a lot of people don't know is the estimated equity percentage filter on the right side, third one down.
Oh, this one.
That can actually take in the values of zero. So if you go in there and just hit zero minimum, zero maximum, another great way to show you which properties have zero equity. So we'll go through any properties that are completely zero. What you can do here that I see some best practices are, especially in the sub-2 community, is they'll start at zero and maybe do like a 5-10% minimum. That way they're finding the very low to no equity results here. So in that scenario, the max probably would be like a 5. So show me every property, residential vacant land, yada, 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 less than 2 years of ownership with 0 to 5% or 0 to 10% in equity. Another thing a lot of people don't know about that filter is that it can also take in negative numbers as well. This is what a lot of people don't realize. So if you go to, for example, an estimated equity, the zero part, you can, for example, you can do like negative 10% if you'd like. So negative 10, 2, and you can put 0. So now you're not going too negative, but you're going just enough negative and finding those. And so you can see here on the right side, there's a property with like negative $6,000 in equity. And I know that with the sub-2 strategy, sometimes there's a down payment involved. A small down payment can get that homeowner back in a green status, and then the property could potentially cash flow at that point. So a lot of people don't even have these results in their lists because they don't put these negative numbers in their results. So what most of the time you're going to see are properties that have 0 or a little bit of equity. I would suggest maybe starting that filter by doing like a negative 5% minimum and then leaving the rest open. That way you can at least play with those properties that are just slightly underwater, but not too much that they can't be helped.
I actually didn't know you could do negative equity.
A lot of people don't. And that's where it can get really advantageous for the creative seller community audience. So we can find, again, something that's listed with negative equity, in this case, negative 5 to 5% positive equity. Another thing I would recommend is failed listings. There are tons of failed listings with negative or low equity. So as you did here for sell listings in the MLS status.
Okay, MLS status.
Yeah, for this one, what we can do where it says on market, we can do no. So we want it off market now, and then MLS status right below it, we can do failed listings. So show me all the ones that have already failed with negative 5 to 5% in equity. And so these would be, again, property owners that are not on market anymore. They've been removed off market. But again, this is where a second option can be presented to them.
This is awesome because they tried selling this house back in September of this year. So like last month, they tried selling it for $355, and you come to find out they have $328,000 left on the mortgage. And these are like decently nice houses, right? Like obviously they're not like staged, they're not, flip quality, but these are houses that's like ready to go. If you could potentially just rent this out. So also another thing is you can see the interest rate. So you can, before you even call them, you can say, okay, this is 6.95%, and I don't know if I want to call 6.95%. Right.
That is a very, very good point. That is also a filter that can be manipulated as well. In our filter section, if you go back to the filter at the top, Kevin, and then into the mortgage info section, we just added last year the interest rate percentage filter just to the left right there. And
right
so here you could say max 4%. I don't want to talk to anybody that has a 4% interest rate or higher. So, you have to have a VA, you have to have an FHA, you have to have -5% to 5% equity, but your interest rate must be no higher than 4%. So that's a very powerful filter there for a lot of those that are assuming loans.
Right.
And also the interest rate type to the right of that is also very important. Assuming a loan, that's fixed versus adjustable. These are some important options as well.
Yeah. And I've come to realize the interest rate. So like, let's just say, look at this house, for example. If it's got 3.12 and 2.98%, like I would say this is like 95% accurate, like 99% of the time. Like it might not be exactly 2.98%. It might be 2.85%, but it is in that it is within the 0.1 to 0.1 to 0.1% to 0.2% difference up and down.
And let me explain how we came up to that conclusion, because a lot of people ask, hey, how are you guys getting these rates? For those that know, interest rates are only between the homeowner and the bank. No one really, at the end of the day, is supposed to know that information. But there is a index out there, the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac index, which allows one to kind of get an idea of what the interest rate was. So this index will look at all the loans that were present at the time during that year, during that quarter. So, for example, if you got an FHA loan back in 2012 in the month of October, this index can kind of give you an idea of what that interest rate would have been. So to Kevin's point, our interest rates are never going to be 100% accurate, but it's strong enough to hopefully help you make a better decision on whether it's something to pursue or something to maybe to walk away from.
Yeah. And for most of the time, like the audience, they don't need to know whether it's 2.7 or 2.8, because the change in the difference is going to be so little that it's not going to matter to your buyers, right? Like, so like whenever Lorraine and I sell a lot of find buyers for a lot of our sub 2 students, and whether it's a 2.7% or 2.9%, it's really not that big of a deal, right? But obviously, like if you go from like but if it's like you thought that the Propstream said 2.7, but now the deal is 4.5, that's a significant difference. So yeah, I didn't even know this because I don't play around with this too much. It's like a little too confusing for me.
Yeah, we just added it because we kind of started kind of preparing, as the potential of a low equity market can come around. We don't know if it is or isn't. We realized that there was going to be a rise in the creative financing stuff. So we introduced the interest rate filter. We introduced the interest rate percentage filter, the loan type filters, just so we could potentially go after these homeowners, sooner than later, is the idea. But again, we're not 100% perfect in this area. So you guys are the expert. If there are other filters that you think that could be beneficial to help identify properties that would be more willing to do a sub 2, please let us know. And there's something also I wanted to highlight, kind of double back on what you did with the property types. For some of you guys, when Kevin mentioned, the residential vacant land and the vacant land property types, and you could see it right there in the summary. The reason he did that, and this is something I really want to emphasize, is that the county takes a long time to update records, if they ever do update records. The way that counties work is they work forwards and not backwards. So, for example, in the Phoenix market, there are certain zip codes in certain cities where they just don't apply the beds at all. Like, so you might go in Propstream and say, hey, I need a property with 3 bedrooms that didn't pay their taxes. And no results will populate because that's a market that just does not apply bedrooms. Our system's very literal. So if you ask for 3 and that county doesn't register bedrooms, then you get 0 results found. Now, the reason he put residential vacant land and vacant land in his search is because properties are being developed really quick. So yes, it was labeled vacant land, let's say from, back when up until 2018. And then in 2018, a building was then developed and placed on top of it. But the county has yet to update the property type. So the county, it still shows residential vacant land when, as of today, 5 years already, there's been a building on built on top of it. So the reason Kevin's putting that in his search is so he doesn't miss any potential opportunities. Something that's labeled vacant land, but actually has a building built on top of it. So be very aware of that, that you might be missing out on some leads because of the outdated labeling at the county's office. So just wanted to highlight that because that was a very, very smart move on your behalf, Kevin.
Yeah, and I will say 20% of our 15 to 20% of our deals are new construction, right? Like I did a deal in Buckeye 2 months ago, and the house was built like less than 2 years ago. I mean, you look at this house, the house that I own on the East Polk Street. This was built, I think, April of this year. It was, let me see. The land was sold twice. This house was built on March. Let me actually double check because this house would have not, this Polk Street would not have populated on Propstream if you didn't.
It's still labeled vacant land at the very top, residential vacant land. So that's a perfect example of something that may not populate if you're just selecting single family all the time. So very, very important. And the keynote there too is that although it says residential vacant land, right below the picture on the left side, you see that there are beds and bathrooms and square footage and lot size. So although the property type hasn't been converted or adjusted at the county level, the tax assessor's office, which we do collect data from as well, did at least update the property info. So again, very, very important that we recognize that, because if you're always selecting single family, you might be missing out on these very, very recently developed properties that, like Kevin says, maybe 15-20% of your deals when it comes to creative seller financing.
Right. Let me see. Yeah, this is Work Wonder is one of the LLCs that we own houses in. Blue Ridge, like that. This house on Blue Ridge, we also own that. And Propstream actually shows you what houses people own, which is awesome.
And if you don't want us to do that, make sure your asset protection's really good. The reason we're able to do that, ladies and gentlemen, is the tax address. When a homeowner has multiple properties, let's say I have 10 properties, and all my 10 taxes go to one address. That's how we can identify you have 10 properties under your name. If you want to avoid that, little tip, make sure every property has an LLC and you use a different tax address. That's one way of us not being able to capture your portfolio. But again, not too many people do that. There's a lot of work and expertise involved in that. But that's how we've been able to create portfolios to link properties. Is the tax address has been a real key component to that.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go back to the filter again, because I want to play around with this. So let's go back to Maricopa County. And then filter. So residential vacant land, everybody got that. Condo and townhouse. A lot of people go market after them.
And what we did change, so it's no longer your filters. Your filters were, I believe, on market. So yours were on market for sale.
Look how many failed listings there are. 2234. That is insane amount of failed listings that my team is going to start going after. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think failed listings are things that people tend to overlook quite a bit. That it's a huge signal flare telling you someone wants to sell, they just could not do it through a realtor. Another thing that a lot of people overlooked as well, someone said, what is a failed listing? So a failed listing is when a property was on the MLS and then it was removed from the MLS, and then in the removal of it never sold. So you got to be careful when it comes to failed listings, because a failed listing could mean one of three things. A failed listing could mean someone changing their mind, right? So let's say I list my house today, and then tomorrow morning I'm like, no, I shouldn't sell grandma's house. I changed my mind. That's going to be a failed listing. It's going to say like 1 day on market, failed, because we put it on there and then we removed it. Another reason it could be a failed listing is a violation of contract. So if the homeowner or the agent doesn't do their fiduciary duties, that listing can be removed from the MLS. That's a failed listing. Then the third one is the one we're mostly familiar with, and that's called an expired listing. It's when something is on the market for extremely long time, longer than what the contract requires it to be, and then the agent or the brokerage has to remove it. So these are the three failed listings. So if you're looking for the latter, which is the expired listings, what I would recommend, Kevin, can you go in the filter at the very top? If you're ever looking for failed listings, go ahead and like choose failed listing under the quick list choices. So if you ever choose there, that's the first step I would tell you to do. There's a failed listing option there. When you choose that, then go to the MLS status on the left-hand side. Make sure it's off market because you don't want a failed listing to be back on market, right? So just make sure it's off market like Kevin has here. And then the benefit here is, again, 3 reasons it could be failed: changing my mind, someone violated the contract, or an expired listing. To find the expired listings, you're going to want to use the days on market filter on the left-hand side. And you want to apply a minimum. So for example, I'm in Orange County, California. Most of the realtors out here will list the property for about 6 months, which is about 180 days, right? 6 times 30. So we'll put 180 days. And then these are the failed listings we want to look for, right? We want to look for the ones that actually were on market for 5-6 months. And then the homeowners were told by the realtor, sorry, this is not going to work out. So imagine being that homeowner. Imagine waiting nearly half a year to sell your property just to find out it's not going to sell, right? So these are homeowners that probably already have their mind set on a price. They've lost hope in trying to list their property again. Maybe you're the avenue for them. So failed listings, that's what it is. Just make sure if you are looking for the expired ones, use the days on market filter. That's going to help you out quite a bit with removing anything that was on market for a day or two and then no longer on there.
Yeah. That's awesome. So failed, and then you want to add the days on market as well to find.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then here's another avenue. I see a lot of creative or out of the box thinkers will take. They'll look for active listings. Okay. Now, if you're a realtor, this is where you got to be careful, right? Because you don't want to be calling other realtors leads unless you explain your role and whatnot. But what I'll see a lot of people do is they'll look for something that's active. You probably might want to remove the failed status there, Kevin, on the left side.
Failed.
Yeah. So they'll look for something active that's been on the market for X amount of days or more. So something active, like minimum, let's say 60 days or 90 days. So we're now looking for someone. Oh, and then remove failed listings from the quick list choices, Kevin. Or you could put the first option on market. Yeah, there you go. Either or works. There you go. So what we're doing here is we are looking for something that's listed, but it's already been 2-3 months and no one's bought it yet, right? So this is where I would say a good opportunity to start either agent outreach, reaching out to the agent because you do have the agent's information in our data, or if not there, maybe start marketing to the homeowner directly, start planting that seed. So these are some good alternative options. Kevin's filters were on par, like French kiss to that, but yes. Some other options here are the failed listings and the active listings. But again, I want to be very, very clear on the active listings. They're still listed. So if you're a realtor, tread lightly. Also, if you're an investor, make sure you understand that this homeowner has an agent representing them. So build the relationship, but just understand that there's probably not much you can do unless you work with the agent and do it through their agent or wait for it to no longer be on market. But that's where, again, planting the seed could be important. Introducing yourself today so that in 3, 4, 5 months, when it does fail, they have your number already in hand.
Yeah. And I want to make a comment because it's a double-edged sword because you will for sure 100% run into homeowners that are like, you will for sure run into listing agents that will cut you off right off the bat. It's like, oh, the seller's not interested. Well, have you pitched to the seller? Like, oh yeah, we did. Yeah, don't worry about it. We did. I closed. We had a deal with Dana. He's in the Zoom we had a deal in Queen Creek, Arizona, where it was like a 2.7% interest rate, 5-bedroom, 3-bath house, and we pitched to the agent, and the agent says our client's not interested, and then it ends up going expire. We go directly to the homeowner. We struck up a deal, and Pace and I go to the house together to because I Pace, like I said, Pace buys a lot of my deals. He's probably the biggest buyer out there. I go up to Pace. I say, hey Pace, let's go check this house out. You're the one that you're buying. So we go see with the seller. You go meet with the seller, and the seller goes, oh, you know what? It's so funny because when I was working with my agent, he never pitched this to me. But Dana and I have pitched it to the seller, like I pitched it to the listing agent like at least 5 to 6 times. And agent says, oh, our client's not interested, but they in reality never even pitched it. So there's a fine line when you say like you don't necessarily want to go around the agent, but like if the agent is not even picking up the phone, none of that, like it might not be a bad idea because now you have a reason why you went directly to the seller.
Love that. That's a good experience shared right there, guys.
Yeah. So this is my FHA VA list. So I got a thumbs up from Burton. So we're good to go.
Oh, I love your list. If you guys aren't writing this down, I don't know what you guys are doing right now. Like, yeah, stop. Like, get your pen and paper out. Get your camera out. Take a picture of the screen right now. But this is a very, very, very solid filter set that he has. And then we just shared with you guys a few other potentially good ones that you guys can take care of.
Yeah. So this is what I call the FHA and VA list. And I have another list for conventional loan. And it's a little different because conventional loan, you can put up to 20% down, 50% down. So I want to run this by you. Oops.
I think you clicked on the same one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Burton, can I ask you a question about Propstream?
Sure, you may.
Can you also navigate on Propstream using the map? Because I find that you always have to search for a specific city or whatever, but if I want to look in the surroundings, there's no remove boundary like you have on Zillow. I can just browse the map based on my filter.
No, we don't have that feature yet. We're working on it. The best way you can search an area on the map is the draw search feature. It's on the top left of the map. And then that tool allows you to kind of create your own shape. So you do have to do several left clicks, but you can make like a square, a circle, whatever it may be, just like Kevin's doing right now. And then once you have that shape, you just hit enter on the keyboard and it just pulls everything in that shaded area.
Yes.
Okay, got it. That works well too. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? Because you have it, it looks like you already have an idea of what it should be. If you send us an email, support@propstream.com with screenshots like, hey, I use this product and it would be cool if this, because our developers don't know what you know, but if we can get an idea or like an example of how, it should work or how you figure it should work, then our developers who aren't investors can connect the dots and be like, that's what they're talking about. And maybe we potentially can do that.
Understood. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, no problem.
I got a quick question. Is there contact info on here as well? Is that the value? Yeah.
With Propstream, we do have contact information, but it is extra. It's called skip tracing, and it's located on the toolbar to your left. But the way that works is you have to build a list first. So you have to find your failed listings or your delinquent owners, add your filters, and then save that list. Like right now on the right side of Kevin's screen, he has 173 properties. He can save these 173 properties to a list. And then after saving it, then it's 12 cents an address to skip trace. Now, we don't charge you the 12 cents if we don't get anything back on that address. So if you, for example, skip trace 100 properties and they all come back with results, that will cost you $12. But if you skip trace 100 properties and only 90 of them come back with results, then it would be the 90 times 12 cents. We're not going to charge you that $1.20 for the 10 we didn't capture at all.
Love it. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, so address are given to you, but phone numbers are going to be 12 cents per address.
Yeah. So let's hold off the question until the very end, because we will answer questions. We'll most likely answer your questions as we are going through it, and we'll do a Q&A as long as the Zoom goes on. And I'll be the last one to leave. I want to make sure everyone's questions are answered. So, but let's go over the second list, because so the first one we just went over is the FHA and the VA list. Second one that we're going over is the conventional list, and this is my filter, and I want to run it by you. It's very similar. It's very similar to what we already have with the FHA VA. The only difference is we're going after the conventional loan this time, and we have the LTV, which is loan to value, meaning they have 20% or less in equity. And we can play around with. Hey, Burton, can we do as LTV? If we put LTV as 80%, would that be the same thing as equity at 20% or less? Is that the same thing?
Correct, but the property has to have a loan for that filter to apply, right? Because there has to be a loan for that filter to say this is a property that matches that result. But you're absolutely right. That's the idea. So an 80 loan to value means the loan is at 80% still to the value of the property, whatever the value is. So the difference is that 20% in equity.
Right. So
this filter is solid. What I would probably recommend on this one, Kevin, unless you're deliberately looking for it, is the years of ownership can potentially be removed on this search. Okay. Because you're forcing Propstream to look for those that have 20% in equity no matter what. So whether you've owned the property for 15 years or whether you've owned it for 2 years or less like you had it, we still want to find properties that have no more than 20% in equity, right? And I say that because there are people out there, literally people out there, that bought a property 10 years ago, 15 years ago, right? Maybe the property was at 350, but the market since has dropped. So now the market in their area is 280 for that 350 property. So they've been paying for 10 years, right? And so for 10 years, you're finally down to 260, but the market value is 280 now. So you have literally, after like 10, 15 years of payments, you're still at an 80% loan to value ratio. And as you can see, just by removing the years of ownership, you kind of doubled the amount. But the challenge here is that you're going to be dealing with people that have owned their property for more than 2 years. And I don't know if that's going to be a challenge. But again, there are people out there that have been making payments for 10, 15 years, and there's no equity to show for it. So that could be potentially like, hey, how about we structure something and, hit that reset button for you. You go somewhere else and do it, and we can cash flow what, this no equity property of yours.
Right. Yeah, because this is also what I've realized is I've had a lot of deals come to my table, not from my team's marketing, but somebody else's. And I'm like, this was not on my list, but they have no equity. And I come to find out the homeowner owned it for like 7 years, but they refinanced 2 years ago.
Yeah. So that's why I love what you're doing here with the loan of value. That's why I don't think the years of ownership should be applied unless, again, you're deliberately only looking for someone who's lived there for 2 years or less. Right. If that's your strategy, then yes, I would always apply the years of ownership. But if your strategy is, hey, I just want to find people that have literally no equity and they have a conventional loan, then remove the years of ownership. Because as you see on the right-hand side, like number 5, that homeowner, number 5, has owned that property since 1998 until this very day. Because of their financial decisions, they have a loan to value ratio of 80%. In this case, the equity is negative. So yeah. See, so that loan from 2015, that's a pretty high loan amount, 860,000. I don't know what the heck they were doing with that huge loan, but they've got a pretty big loan. And it's been 7-8 years now, and it's still low equity. So that's the only adjustment I would make, is just remove the years of ownership, unless you're deliberately trying to find someone with less than 2 years of ownership.
I love it. Yeah, because they owned it for 24 years, but they took out but they did refinance. So they're back in 2015. So they owe 431 on their mortgage, and they're trying to sell it for 419. So they are for sure losing money on this house.
Yeah. So yeah, but I love your filter. Again, guys, if you aren't taking screenshots, I don't know what you're doing.
It's like a screenshot if anybody wants to. Honestly, this is a lead. The one that we just showed you, that's a lead. So you guys can go find the homeowner's number and go after it. Okay, so but there's nothing much different about this filter other than the other one, because all we did was remove the years of ownership. And matter of fact, I honestly think even on the FHA and the VA list, I think I should remove the 2 years or fewer. And instead of 2 years or fewer, I want to add 20% equity or lower. So this is probably what I would do is loan to value. So loan to value, let me see, is 20%. No, max 20%, right? Something like that.
Yeah, max 20%.
Yeah, something like this. So this will be the updated list for me if I were to start, because at the end, the reason why I went 2 years or less is because I wanted to find no equity. But now that you guys have the no equity filter already,
Yeah.
that's implemented now, that 2 years, the years of ownership is not so relevant.
I don't believe so, again, because
Yeah.
the markets fluctuate, and yes, there are people, unfortunately, there are people out there that have been making decades of payments, and the market didn't go the way it went in that, maybe because a huge manufacturing warehouse closed down or whatever, and market values took a hit. And so, they've been making payments for 10 years just to see 10 years later no equity. I've seen it. I've seen people make 10 years of payments and there's still a negative equity status because of just how the market moved in their area. So yeah, I would say that would just probably a little add to your filter. Hopefully it can get you an extra 2 or 3 or a dozen full of newer leads that you didn't see.
Right. I think that's it. I mean, truly in my business this year so far, I really went off these two lists very hard, like FHA, VA list, and conventional, and that's really what we went after. We didn't really do anything beyond that. I know it's like a lot of people say, hey, there's not that many houses. Like I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel where I call the houses off the no equity list, where everybody thought it was, what do you call it, saturated. And I called the first two. I called three. The first one didn't pick up, but the second one and third one, we ended up getting very close to a contract. They ended up getting a cash offer last minute, so it didn't go through. But it did. These are not as saturated as many people think, because it's like this thing where, oh, everyone's calling it, so I'm not gonna call it. But then it's like nobody ends up calling it.
I agree with that statement quite a bit. We get a lot of people that get into analysis paralysis. We'll get people that ask me, hey, how many people have pulled this list from your system? And again, you have to understand that you're never going to be the first to get to that list. As a matter of fact, you could camp outside the county's office and get the list first before everybody else does. But is that homeowner ready for that conversation? And I think that's where this strategy can have its challenges. I don't think it's a matter of getting to the list first. I think it's, how can I explain this option, right? The sub 2 option to the homeowner coherently. I think that's your biggest challenge when you're doing sub 2 is, can I make this complex strategy? Because to some people, sub 2 is like, what is this, right?
Right.
But how do I explain this coherently to a homeowner who doesn't know what we know?
Right.
And I think if you work on that skill set, like, hey, how do I explain sub 2 to someone who doesn't know real estate, right? If I can explain sub 2 to a kindergarten, I think you guys have an upper hand at that point. And I think to Kevin's point, that's why it may seem saturated. You might get 50 people calling this homeowner, right, trying to offer sub 2, but how many of the 50 can clearly explain it and the benefits? Right. I think that's something that you need to kind of look into yourself and say, hey, if it's taking too long to explain, or if I'm explaining it and they're confused, and heck, I'm even confused, then you might need to go back to the drawing board and just work on that pitch. But that's just my 2 cents on that, because getting to the homeowner is, in my opinion, easy, especially with all this technology and phone numbers left and right. But once you get to that homeowner, can I easily explain what we need to do to help them? And if you can't, you might have missed that huge opportunity.
Right. 100%.